What up, Gacha gang? Today we are looking at Dragon Quest Dai, and as usual, please remember that a 5 means that it's an average game. It does not mean that it is a bad game. 5 is passing. It means it's average, it's acceptable, it's good to go. You will like a game that is a 5. If it is a 7 or higher, that means it's a pretty great game. And if it's an 8 or higher, that means it's a very, very rare gacha game. Important things to remember is that gacha games are intentionally not world-beating games. They are designed for mobile, casual gameplay, a lot of hero collection, a lot of strategy involved. They are not going to be the most insane, mechanically intensive games that you will run across. With that said, we will be looking at graphics, story progression, gameplay, uniqueness, monetization, and community in relation to Dragon Quest Dai. First things first, let's look at the graphics. The graphics in this game are actually somewhat okay. As someone that's building their own gacha game, I'm actually appreciative of what I see here on the screen. You actually have 3D models in a hybrid of a 3D and 2D sphere in a lane running phase. And you're seeing a lot of toon shaders on the actual screen itself. I think that the graphics actually play slightly up from what people would experience in other games. It is almost like you are inside the anime itself. I like a lot of the ultimate abilities. The responsiveness of the graphics is pretty high up there. I gave it a 7 out of a 10. 1, from a technical perspective, I think it was really well executed. 2, I don't think that the graphics are something that get in the way of anybody that may be wanting to experience a game such as this, which is kind of rare for a gacha game. Sometimes the graphics are very hit or miss, very chibi in that nature. I think the graphics are actually one of the main selling points of Dragon Quest Dai. It very much feels like what you would want it to feel like. Looking at the story, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I think that the story in itself is kind of bland, it's whatever, but it is a Dragon Quest Dai story. It's been worked directly with the director of the anime itself, so it has some canon to it. It is actually something that you would be considered part of that cult classic, which is Dragon Quest. So in that regards, it can't be below a 5, and I was hesitant to give it a 6 instead of a 5. But I think that enough people have commented, and I've seen enough people comment on the story and both what they like about it and projecting what's left to come, to know that it might actually be for quite a few of y'all, even if it's not just for me. So I gave it the benefit of doubt, and I gave it a 6 out of 10. Similar to the progression system, the progression system here isn't all that different than other gacha games that you will see, though it is a weapon collector, which is often something that a lot of hero collector games do not like to go about from the gacha system. They prefer you to chase after individual characters, but in reality, if you get the weapon, you get the character. So as new skins of these characters come out, the weapon will actually do all of that changing. It changes the playstyle and etc. I think it comes off kind of like Magatsu War Height in that regard. I think it brings a lot of uniqueness to the way that you progress through the gameplay in itself. So I think the progression system isn't really the selling point. It's supposed to be an additive portion of the gameplay and the uniqueness feel that you're exclusively there to a Dragon Quest title 4. So speaking of gameplay, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I really like the lane style of gameplay that this game put forward to you. I like the timing based attributes. It felt like there was a little bit more strategy involved in this than your typical hack and slash gacha games. I really felt like my team builds were rewarding. The decisions that I got to make based off of my build really affected the gameplay in itself, and it made me want to grind the actual pieces that were there so I could experience more of what these kits really had to show for itself. Specifically around Nam, I really wanted that heal to be a lot more powerful than I ended up making it be, but overall I like the kit. I like the safety that that type of kit provided to me in combination with other people like Dai and here that you have in the game itself. I thought the gameplay was actually pretty fun and intuitive. Now to uniqueness, the game being a Dragon Quest Dai game, it automatically is going to have a base uniqueness of a 6, given that it is tied directly to an IP that is very established and moving. People will be coming to a game like this just because it is Dragon Quest, and because of that, the uniqueness has to be above average. It's not something that they're trying to build off on its own. It is an established brand, and it also is this new lane form of combat, which we don't see very often. Though the gacha system in itself and everything else about the game kind of feels very standardized, those two aspects, it being a Dragon Quest game and it being the lane combat system, moved it from a 5 to a 6 to a 7. Now, looking at the monetization, I didn't really feel the need to spend any money in the game, but I did think that the pack costs were pretty exorbitant in a lot of circumstances, and I didn't really feel like what I was paying for, outside of the initial buy-throughs of the 2 gacha systems that guaranteed a 4-star, were really worth your time and your money, and the And the main drawback from the monetization side of this is the stamina system. The stamina expensive is pretty expensive. You don't get to do a lot throughout the course of the day if you are not spending for it. So they really anticipate you being someone that would spend a lot on the stamina presented to you in the game. You will get through maybe about 20 hours of gameplay without really feeling that effect, but once it's felt, it's kind of rough. A later stage dungeon costs about 20 stamina, which costs about 2 to 3 hours of your time sitting around waiting to run something once. And really, it doesn't cap at much more than that. So I think I got around to like 80 stamina-ish, so about 4 runs of this dungeon, which would last you a grand total of about 5 minutes, and then you're done for the day. And community, given that it's a brand new game, it has a pretty established IP to it. The community started out pretty small. It definitely waned off quickly. I'm giving it a 5. It's just like every other new game. The 5 out of 10 is pretty standardized for it. It's an average for a new game. It's pretty rare that you'll see a new game start below or above a 5 in my opinion. But this game may be able to trend closer to a 6, but I'm not really sold that it's going to be that way long term. Overall, we gave Dragon Quest Dai a 6 out of 10, which means that it is an above average game. I think a lot of people will like it for a very long time. I don't think it's going to be something that captures the mass audience, but I think for those of you that are interested in this game and what you see, you're going to really enjoy it. And for that reason, it is an above average game. It's not in the elite tier. It's not something that I'm really going to recommend to people, but it is definitely a game that I very much understand why a lot of people really like it and want to spend a lot of time into it. Okay, guys, that does it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Peace.